Okay, hi. We have Marla Stewart. Thank you for being here.
Thank
Coming
you.
all the way from Florida.
Yes, I did
Yes.
come all the way from Florida. That's my new home now. Well, I'm back and forth between Atlanta and Florida.
Okay.
So, is
Yes.
my voice okay?
Yeah, your
I'm
voice is
looking at
Okay,
your
y'all are
outfit.
very soft spoken,
no,
and I'm a very loud
no.
person.
You
So
know
I'm
what it
feeling
is?
like,
You know what it is?
do I need to talk into the mic
London
like
nervous. Because London usually be ratchet as fuck. Not giving a fuck about nothing.
I'm like, what's
And
happening?
London's all like, let me put my Oprah face on. But I'm also looking at your eyelashes. I didn't notice that they were blue earlier. That's not cute.
Oh,
Yes,
thank
yes,
you.
Yeah, awareness, mental health awareness, colors. Yes, I'm here for it. So
Yes.
tell us about you.
Yeah, so I study sex and sexuality. I've been studying it for the past 18 years. I'm 39 years old. So just to let you all know how old I am. Because some people are like, what, since you were a baby? And I'm like, no, that's not a thing. But I've been studying this forever. My background is in psychology, sociology, LGBT studies, human sexuality, public health, HIV, women's and gender studies. So I teach in the at Clayton State in the Department of Interdisciplinary Studies. So my realm is very broad, but I teach women's and gender studies and sociology. So everything that you need to know around all those different subjects, I probably have the answer to. If I don't, I probably can get the answer to. But for the most part, I am here around sex, sexuality, sexual health, mental health. Those are the things that I live for. So.
Okay. Let's kick us off. What is the relationship between sex and mental health?
Oh my goodness. So if your mental health is compromised in any way, right? So if you are not feeling mentally stable, or if you don't know that you're mentally stable and other people are like, hey, something might be going on with you, it can affect your sexual health in a multitude of ways, right? The way you explore. So are you going to be experimental? Are you going to do things that you wouldn't normally do? Are you going to be safe, right? So a lot of times you often talk about safer sex, safe sex. Are you going to be using protection the way that you normally would, right? As a person who likes to drink, right? And, folks who like to get high, like inebriated sex, it happens, right? So thinking about the ways that mental health, in a way, it's also about emotional health. It's the way that it's all of those things. So when we think about the ways that we are navigating sex, if we are inebriated, if we are whatever, off our meds, whatever, it can affect our sexual health, because then we might be in situations that maybe if we were in a mind that we would like to be in, it wouldn't be the same. So it can be, it could be a problem.
I can honestly relate to that because there was a point where I was in a dark place in my life, and I just went after anything that I was not supposed to go after. And afterwards, I really looked at myself and I was like, I knew this guy for so long and I never wanted to deal with him. And that's with like 2 other guys too. And I'm like, I really need to like take a good look at myself and realize where it was stemming from. And I realized it was from the hurt and pain that I dealt with beforehand. So a lot of people don't realize that they do need to do some healing before they go out into the world in general, to go have sex, to step into a relationship, because you could make some horrible decisions that could really hurt your health.
Oh yeah, definitely. People do that all the time, right? I'm really glad you said that, because a lot of times, even if we've had some sort of like sexual childhood trauma, a lot of times people they go one or the other, right? Like they're either like, I'm gonna sleep with everybody because I need to know what everybody does,
Yeah.
or I'm gonna like not sleep with anybody because like I don't trust anybody around me.
Why is that? Do you have an answer to that? Because I have a, not to put any
theoretical
out there, but to put the business out there. I had a friend who was sexually molested, and I would have thought that she would have been more reclusive, but it was the opposite. Like, she wanted more of that attention. She actually craved for someone to do some of the things that she talked about that was done to her that she didn't like. So I was like, why is that happening? Like, what
What's the
about
psychology
that?
behind
It's
it?
healing. You have to understand sometimes it's healing. So people, especially when they are have a childhood trauma or some sort of childhood sexual trauma, it's healing to them, and they have to put themselves in a sort of a role play, to where it is a moment of, yeah, it's like, I am controlling this sexual situation, not that person who took advantage of me. And so now that I understand, like, the pleasure that I got actually from that situation, I'm actually in control of. And that feels better to me. So now I'm able to do that thing because I know it feels good, because I know what it felt like before, but also I'm in control of it. So it can be very healing for people who have been molested. I know people who do role play, age play, all that stuff, and it's very healing just because of that alone.
Yeah.
You know, just being able to be like, I now can control the situation. If me and you are doing role play, you know, you're the daddy and I'm the child, like, I'm in control. And at any point in time, I could say, we're done.
Okay. I could
Right?
get that.
At any point in time, I can say we're done. But at the time, I know it felt good to me, because when I got pleasure from that situation, that felt good to me. And I want to receive that pleasure again.
What if it doesn't feel good and then they still do it?
Well, most people only do things because it gives them pleasure. If people are doing it again, it's because either they are trying to learn where that pleasure was, or what is, you know, they might be seeking some other outlet.
Honestly, now I don't. Like, I think about like the porn about with like that type of role play, or the stepmom or the stepdad and stuff like that. I used to look. I mean, sometimes I still look at it sideways. I'll still look.
It's
but
weird.
Now,
It's weird.
It is weird. But now that you express that, those are the type of people who would watch that type of porn. Not only the pedophiles, but the people who have been violated and then go back and say, okay, let me watch this porn because I can stop it at any moment.
Yeah, exactly. There was a really great disco singer called Sylvester. I know it's probably way before your time. But there's a really great disco singer. His name was Sylvester, and he was a gay guy, but he sounded like Donna Summers, right? And so nobody really knew, you know, that he was like super gay. But back in the day, he was like super gay. And so what was interesting is that in his book, he talks about, you know, being molested as a kid. And he was like, but I actually really enjoyed like having anal sex. Like, it was great. And number one, two things, right? One, like, anal sex for guys is like the G-spot for women, right?
Period.
It's like the best thing ever, right? The number two thing, this guy's like, no.
But it is.
Challenge.
Right.
Challenge.
But it is.
Let me challenge you on that. I would love to challenge you on that. And then number two.
He's like, why the hell did I say that? I had niggas telling me they love me, women telling me that my G-spot is in my asshole.
You chose the front seat. So the second thing is just like, it is, we have to understand what is pleasure. We have to understand and receive pleasure, and pleasure comes in many different forms. And so that is just one of the ways that we receive pleasure. So
I'm going to go into like a little bit of biology.
Yes,
I'm going to
please.
ask a question real quick because, you know, a lot of women and men, let's say men too, sometimes they don't want to express that they have been raped because, they feel like and able to have sex, you know, of course you have to be erect or you have to be wet. So a lot of people like they're afraid to express that because the guy will be like, well, I was hard, how is it rape? Or I became wet, how was I aroused in that way, but I didn't want it. So how would you speak to somebody like that who thinks in that way? I don't know if I'm asking the question right.
So you're asking if they are aroused and they're being raped, why is it, how are they being aroused in that situation? Because they're being violated? How would you
express to them that it's okay to say, yes, I was raped? Although, yes, you were erected and this woman did violate you.
I mean, exactly what you're just saying, right? So exactly what you're saying. So in a sense of, yes, I was erect, but I also was violated, right? Like if you had a wet dream and a woman, if you're a penis owner, right? And you had a wet dream and you're thinking about something and some woman sat on your dick and you're like, is it okay for?
No,
okay.
Girl, if you don't say dick.
Maybe I sit on the dick, no. And you wake up out of the dream, right? Like, is that rape? Right? Yes. Is what you're asking, essentially. Like, oh, but I was aroused. But you were aroused because of your thoughts. You weren't aroused because of this person who, and it might have been somebody you were like, why are you, ooh, no, right? Like, it is still rape in the sense of it's inappropriate, right? There's no consent. So we have to understand consent as a big part of who we get involved with, who we want to have sexual contact with, and what we want as far as in our sex and in our sexual fantasies.
Okay. So you studied at Georgia State. Talk to us a little bit about your thesis on alternative sexual communities among people of color, where you highlight sexual liberation and how that relates to mental health. Because it goes into that conversation of exploration, and I think that from childhood it's male and female, you know, like that's the type of relationship. And as we become adults, that's when we kind of, I kind of like this and I kind of like that. And I think that, like, for me, being attracted to both sex, like I've played with the mental around, like I've had like struggles with, you know, communicating that, sharing that, like coming to grips with like, what am I doing? Like, why am I attracted to both genders? So talk to us a little bit about your thesis on that.
Yeah. So first of all, I think we need to understand everything is not a binary. Okay. Number one, right? So there's male and there's female, but guess what? There's 33 people in between of male and female, first and foremost. So gender is not a binary. Nothing is a binary. Our sexual orientations aren't binary, right? It's not you're gay or you're not. Right? Everybody is in a place of in between, right? Very rarely will we come across someone who is just like, nope, right? But if you put a blindfold on them and someone's sucking their dick, and guess what?
It feels good.
Yeah, right.
And someone may do it better than me. I'm trying to take lessons from a gay man.
Word, fact.
You know what I'm saying? So there's such a spectrum. So we can't sit here and say that everything is black or white, male, female, feminine, masculine. We are all a bit of everything. And so I think once you understand that concept, then you can understand people and humans in general and as complex beings, right? It's interesting. Can I talk about UTO a little bit? Is that okay? Okay.
Talk to me.
So I just like to think about femininity and masculinity, right? We think about gender.
Yeah.
And thinking about gender and femininity and masculinity, some of us have a lot of feminine energy. Some of us have a lot of masculine energy, right? I'm not saying, I'm just...
No, Linda's like...
I know.
I'm all funk flex on.
Right? Some of us have feminine energy when it comes to this. Some of us have more masculine energy when it comes to that, right? And it's so funny. T and I, she's my business partner for Sex Down South. And it's so great. We work together very well. not only as friends but as business partners because of our feminine and masculine energy. And understanding what is feminine, what is masculine, that is important to us. So it's funny. She is heterosexual, right? Straight, black woman, she loves feminine men.
Love them, child.
Feminine men, right? And they love her, right? And they love her. And it's very beautiful. And I'm a queer woman, and I love masculine women. And so for me, the balance is what parts of you are feminine, what parts of you are masculine. Understanding, are you a bossy? Who here is bossy? Exactly. Those are your masculine qualities. And you understand those as masculine qualities.
Why you ain't raise your hand, bitch?
Y'all are my
hit on this bitch. She the main one. Raise her hand.
We are like the direct communicators. We know we know how to communicate very directly, but we attract people who tend to be feminine communicators in a sense of we need to decode things, like I'm cold, or you're like, what the fuck does that mean? Do you need a jacket? Do you need a coat? Like, do you need me to turn up the heat? Like, there's so much interpretation that goes with, because if you are female and you're socialized as female, there's so many caveats to this. We interpret things in so many different ways. So in that sense, we have to understand ourselves. Are we maybe masculine communicators, or are we not? Are we feminine communicators? And what does that mean? If we're in between, how does that work out? But understanding where our masculinities lie, where our femininities lie, I think are the key points of being humans in general, and how we can navigate our relationships with other people.
And I think that's a better way of even understanding the mental side of it, and the different mental illnesses and different effects that happen to our bodies. Last question.
What are ways to protect your mental well-being?
And improve your mental well-being. Yeah.
So, for folks who have mental issues, or even if you have some emotional issues, the first thing I think you need to do is self-care. What are the things that you need? What are you doing to take care of yourself? Is it going to get your nails done? Is it getting a massage?
Share yours.
Is it getting a bunch of compliments? So when I do workshops and things like that, what I got this from Jasmine Burnett. She's a beautiful social justice worker, and she said she does this thing called Love Speaker, and I'm sure she probably got it from somewhere else, but this is where I learned it. And it's a beautiful thing where, say you're feeling down. If you're feeling down, you're feeling low, you have a couple of friends. And you like have them over, and you just say, I need you to compliment me. And so
beautiful.
Yeah, exactly. So it would be me. So if you were the person who needs help, right? It would be me and somebody else, and we would go in your ear and be like, you are beautiful. You are number one. I love the way. You would compliment them, and you would just keep going. Keep going and say all the things that you love about them.
Can you be my friend?
A word bath, yes.
Ooh, that's a good.
Yes.
I already said.
Yes, a word bath.
Yes.
So it's one of those things that because we need that. Similar to what Stanley said, just thinking about like, I love you. We don't hear I love you enough.
No.
We don't hear I need you. Sometimes I just need you to sit next to me. You don't have to say anything. Sometimes I just need you to sit. Let's just have a drink and sit, or let's just sit, smoke. Let's just sit. Let's just sit. I need you to be here, to be next to me. And that is so, so important. And we live in a society that we're driven on results. We're driven on followers. We're driven on this or that. It can be really problematic, because if you don't have however many followers, like I do not have thousands of followers. I don't need thousands of followers.
Yeah, you don't.
But because of what I do and how I navigate the world, the folks that know me, they know me.
We know.
And word of mouth, word of mouth is better than anything.
Yes, absolutely.
And so, so how are you taking care of yourself? So making sure you're taking care of yourself. If you are on meds, so if a psychiatrist is like, hey, yo, you are diagnosed with blah, 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 and you need to take, you say you have bipolar disorder and you need 6 meds, in the daytime, and you need 6 meds at night, you need to take those meds. A lot of times when people have disorders, they're like, oh, I feel good and I don't want to take them anymore. And that is when the problem lies, So making sure you continuously are taking your meds if you need to take meds. I'm a very naturalist in a sense. Like, I understand my brother had, he was a drug addict and he had meth-induced schizophrenia. And so he has to take antipsychotics. If he doesn't take those antipsychotics, guess what? He's off in the world. So it's very important for some meds, are necessary to balance us. But I believe that when you are in a place where your mental health is suffering and you don't know it, but other people around you know it, and they're telling you, then you need to listen. Because, some of us like to be like, I'm on my own shit. Or some people who are manic who are like doing the most and doing great at the most, but then down in the gutters later on. It's a problem.
Yeah.
So just being aware, also being aware of your friends' patterns.
Yeah.
So sometimes your friends have mental health issues and you're like, you were like way up on the hills over here, but then you were way low.
That's me all day.
You were way low then, like making sure we're taking care of our friends, we're taking them out, making sure that they're like not staying in the house all day. If they want to be out of the house. Some of us are introverts, some of us are extroverts. I'm a very much an extrovert. Yeah. So I'm always like wanting to be out the house. But like as a person who is an introvert, it is if you are having a mental health issue, it's best to have, somebody who is an extrovert who can be like, I'm going to take you and I need to take you out and like, let's have some fun, even for one night. And you're going to feel the serotonin at least a little bit.
Okay. Well, let everybody know. Thank you so much. Let everybody know where they can find you.
Oh, thank you. So you can find me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, at Velvet Lips, VELVETLIPS, sex ed, but it's sex without the E, because sex ed and cestafasa and all that bullshit. So SXED on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and if you want to follow me personally because you want to be nosy,
I want to be nosy.
I'm at the #1 and then Marla Stewart. Marla Stewart, not Martha Stewart, not the homemaker, although I am a great homemaker.
Yeah.
But but yes, you can follow me there.
Well, you did just get married, right?
I did get married. Thank you.
You're about to make a nice, happy home.
I did make a happy home.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Yes. Thank you so much. Yes.
Thank you.